filled with ancient secrets and hidden truths. Prepare to see things that will make you question, things that will open your eyes. Join me as we unravel the captivating origins of humanity, tracing our roots through the depths of Africa, from the forbidden knowledge of the Garden of Eden to the mystical legends surrounding the Ark of the Covenant, the African ties to the Book of Enoch, and the revelation to the Emerald Tablet. The untold wonders of our African heritage will leave you spellbound. Watch out and unlock the key to understanding our shared origins. Discover the extraordinary tale that will forever change your perception of human history. Don't miss out on this captivating exploration. In the heart of ancient scripture, we find our journey's Genesis. The book of Genesis, aptly named, begins with a narrative that has captured human imagination for millennia. At the core of this story is the Garden of Eden, a paradise where the first humans, Adam and Eve, live in harmony with all creation. The biblical account doesn't pinpoint a geographical location of Eden, but several theories propose that this paradise might have been in Africa. One such theory draws upon the geological evidence suggesting that the Dishon, Tigris, and Ifrit River described in Genesis 2:10-14 could be associated with regions in or near Africa. The Dishon in particular described as encircling the entire land of Kush, which many scholars identify as Ethiopia or Sudan in Africa. These geographical correspondences suggest that humanity's birthplace might have been in Africa. Following the timeline of Genesis, after the flood, humanity was reborn through Noah's son, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Ham is a figure of great significance here. In Genesis 10, he is described as a progenitor of many nations, including the Cushanites, Egyptians, and Canaanites. These groups widely believed to represent African populations, pointing towards the lineage of a substantial part of humanity originating from Africa. Ham's descendants are said to have spread throughout Africa, making Ham's lineage a foundation stone for many African nations. Even today, these nations carry the echoes of their past, resonating through stories passed down through generations. The biblical narratives are threads that highlights the prominent roles of Africa's oldest civilization, notably Egypt and Ethiopia. Known for their rich history, these African powerhouses serve as backdrops for many pivotal moments and figures in biblical texts. Egypt, the land of the pharaohs, is mentioned numerous times in the Bible, often as a place of refuge and revelation. The book Genesis narrates the story of Joseph, who was sold into slavery, rose to power in Egypt, and eventually saved his family from famine. The influence of Egypt permeates the foundational stories of Judaism and Christianity. The young Jesus was taken to Egypt by his parents, Mary and Joseph, to escape King Herod's massacre of infants, making Egypt a sanctuary in the most dire of circumstances. Similarly, Ethiopia holds a substantial place in the biblical narrative. The Ethiopian Enoch, mentioned in Acts 8:26-40, is a particularly poignant figure, baptized by Philip the Evangelist. This individual is considered by many historians to be the first African convert to Christianity, marking the spread of the faith into the African continent. Furthermore, Ethiopia's Queen of Sheba, mentioned in 1 Kings 10:1-13 and 2 Chronicles 9:1-12, visited King Solomon, a meeting that has been immortalized in Ethiopian tradition. Notably, in the Kebra Negast, Moses, a central figure in Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, was married to an Ethiopian woman according to Numbers 12:1. This demonstrates yet another link between the religious narrative and the African continent. As we delve deeper into the African-rooted narratives of the Bible, we find that many key biblical figures have deep connections to the continent. Moses, one of the most significant figures in the Old Testament, was born and raised in Egypt. According to the book of Exodus, Moses was adopted by the Pharaoh's daughter and grew up in the Egyptian royal court. In the latter part of his life, Moses led the Israelites out of Egypt in a mass exodus, further strengthening the links between the Jewish narrative and Africa. Joseph, another pivotal figure, also had deep connections to Egypt. After being sold into slavery by his brothers, Joseph eventually rose to become the governor of Egypt, as told in Genesis 41. His journey is a narrative arc that places Egypt at the center of his personal transformation and the survival of his family during a devastating famine. King David, a legendary figure in biblical tradition, is known for his military conquest and his rule over a unified kingdom of Israel and Judah. However, what might be less known is that David's great-grandmother, Ruth, was a Moabite, an ancient nation located in modern-day Jordan, bordering Egypt and often culturally and politically aligned with it. This connection, though indirect, nonetheless ties King David to a larger African narrative. Perhaps one of the most intriguing narratives connecting Africa to biblical accounts is the story of the Queen of Sheba, who visited King Solomon in Jerusalem, as recounted in 1 Kings 10, 1-13. and 2 Chronicles 9 verse 1-12. While the location of Sheba is debated, many traditions place it in modern-day Ethiopia or Yemen. In Ethiopian tradition, the Queen of Sheba's son by Solomon, Menelik, brought the Ark of the Covenant to Ethiopia, where it resides to this day. According to local belief, these genealogical ties and geographical connection of major biblical figures further underline the substantial link between biblical narratives and the African continent. The theory of hidden African identities in the Bible, suggested by theologians and scholars alike, proposes that many biblical figures and nations may have been of African origin. Their identities obscure or changed over time due to various socio-political reasons. One such scholar, Dr. Kane Hope Fielder, in his work Troubling Biblical Waters, Race, Class and Family, explores the African presence in the Bible, emphasizing the African identity of biblical figures and nations. Fielder and others argue that Eurocentric interpretations of the Bible have overlooked or diminished the significant African presence in these narratives. An example of this hidden African identity can be found in the biblical figure of Zipporah, Moses' wife. Zipporah was a Midianite, and the Midianites are believed to have originated from Cush, which according to Genesis 10, verse 6-7, was located in Africa. Another instance is the identification of Cushites in the Bible, a term that traditionally refers to individuals from the land of Cush, often associated with regions in Africa south of Egypt. Moreover, we delve into the concept of Ham, the son of Noah, who is traditionally associated with the origin of African people. According to Genesis 10 verse 6, the sons of Ham were Cush, Mizraim, Put, and Canaan. Mizraim is often identified with ancient Egypt, and Cush is traditionally associated with areas in African south of Egypt, including Sudan and Ethiopia. This lineage makes a compelling case for the deep-rooted connections between Africa and biblical narrative. The notion of Africa's identity in the Bible extends to biblical prophecy. Africa has played a significant role in fulfilling various biblical prophecies, further linking the continent to the biblical narrative. For instance, the prophecy in Genesis 15, 13-14, which predicted the Israelite enslavement and eventful liberation, took place in Egypt, an African nation. Additionally, prophecies in the book of Ezekiel and Daniel reference African locations and rulers, intertwining Africans' history with the prophetic narratives. By uncovering the hidden African identities within the Bible, we realize that the roots of biblical history may be more intertwined with Africa than traditionally thought. An aspect often overlooked but undoubtedly significant, prophecies in the Bible have predicted crucial events concerning African nations, underscoring their spiritual and historical significance. Let's take a closer look at the nations of Egypt and Ethiopia in biblical prophecy. In the book of Isaiah, these two African nations are frequently mentioned. Isaiah was a prophet in the 8th century BC kingdom of Judah, who was said to have prophesied about the rise and fall of many nations. Among his prophecies, Egypt and Ethiopia stand out prominently, symbolizing the spiritual significance of Africa in these biblical narratives. For instance, in Isaiah 19, 19-20, the prophet speaks of a future time when an altar to the Lord will be in the heart of Egypt and a monument to the Lord at its border. This prophecy seems to highlight a spiritual awakening or transformation within Egypt. Further, in Isaiah 20, the prophet predicts a time when Egyptians and Ethiopians will be led away captive, signifying the geological changes to occur in these regions. Yet, these prophecies about Egypt and Ethiopia aren't solely focused on doom and destruction. For example, Isaiah 18, 1-7 contains a prophecy about Ethiopia, where God acknowledges the gifts that the Ethiopians bring to him. In Isaiah 19, 24-25, the prophecy about Egypt's future redemption reads, In that day, Israel will be one of the three with Egypt and Assyria, a blessing in the midst of the land, whom the Lord of hosts shall bless, saying, Blessed is Egypt my people, and Assyria the work of my hands, and Israel my inheritance. These instances of prophecy regarding Africa, specifically Egypt and Ethiopia, highlight the spiritual significance and intricate role these regions have in the grand biblical narrative. They serve as testament to Africa's central role in biblical history and prophecy, further supporting the idea of a deep-rooted connection between Africa and the Bible. In our ongoing exploration of Africa's pivotal in the Bible, let's turn our attention to specific biblical figures who have clear and direct connections with the African continent. Their stories not only reinforce Africans present in biblical narratives, but also underline the contributions these individuals made in the Christian faith. Firstly, let's discuss Simon of Cyrene. Cyrene was an ancient city located in modern-day Libya, North Africa. The city was a significant hub in the Hellenistic world, boasting a large and vibrant Jewish community. Simon enters the New Testament narrative in a brief, unforgettable moment as recounted in the Synoptic Gospels, Matthew 27 verse 32, Mark 15 verse 21, and Luke 23 verse 26. Simon was the man compelled by the Romans to carry the cross of Jesus as he was led to his crucifixion. Despite the brevity of his appearance, Simon's act has become emblematic of Christian discipleship and bearing one's cross, making him a noteworthy figure within Christian tradition. Another compelling character from the African continent is the Ethiopian Enoch, introduced in Acts 8:26-40. This man, a high-ranking court official under Candace, queen of the Ethiopians, traveled to Jerusalem to worship. On his return journey, he encountered Philip the evangelist, who explained the prophecy of Isaiah to him, leading to his baptism and conversion to Christianity. The story is significant because it marks one of the first recorded instances of Christianity spreading beyond the Jewish community and reaching the African continent. As we continue to uncover Africans' profound imprints on the biblical narrative, it is imperative that we delve into the realm of African wisdom and philosophy and how it may have shaped biblical literature. The Old Testament, particularly books like Proverbs and Ecclesiastes, offers an insightful arena for this exploration. African wisdom, deeply ingrained in the continent's tradition and culture, has long been a reservoir of knowledge, guiding societal norms, values, and behaviors. It's expressed in various forms, including oral literature, proverbs, folk tales, and philosophical teachings. Such scholars propose that these traditions could have influenced the wisdom literature found in the Bible. The Book of Proverbs is a collection of wisdom sayings that instructs readers on how to live righteously, prudently, and in fear of God. While many of these proverbs are attributed to King Solomon, it's noteworthy that Solomon was significantly influenced by his meeting with the Queen of Sheba, a powerful figure from Africa. Moreover, the wisdom tradition of using proverbs to convey deep truth is prevalent in many African cultures, suggesting a potential connection. Ecclesiastes, another wisdom book, is known for its profound philosophical reflections on the meaning of life, the nature of human existence, and the quest for understanding. Some of the philosophical notions echoed in Ecclesiastes, such as the transient nature of earthly pursuits and the importance of recognizing a higher divine purpose, are reminiscence of teachings found in African wisdom traditions. African origins of humanity wouldn't be complete without exploring the Book of Enoch, the ancient Jewish religious text attributed to Enoch, the great-grandfather of Noah, reveals a unique perspective on the antediluvian world, fallen angels, and prophecy. Enoch's Ethiopian association makes it compelling to posit that these remarkable encounters and teachings unfolded in the African landscape. Enoch's narrative is an enthralling tapestry woven with mystical journeys and meetings with divine beings. According to the text, Enoch is taken to the heavens, a trip during which he receives profound insight about the cosmos and secret creation and divine judgment. His venture into heavenly realms and the subsequent imparting of wisdom is a pivotal event. One of that scholar belief holds strands of African spiritual traditions, particularly those emphasizing direct encounters with the divine. Additionally, the Book of Enoch introduces the concept of the watchers of fallen angels who descended upon the earth and intermingled with humanity, teaching them various arts, science, and divine secrets. Some theorize that this descent of heavenly beings and the resulting spread of knowledge might symbolize ancient interactions between advanced civilization and indigenous African tribes. Enoch's prophecies, especially those concerning judgment and divine justice, bear an uncanny resemblance to some African prophecies. The emphasis on ethical conduct, consequences of transgressions, and a system of cosmic justice align with several African wisdom traditions. Through the lens of the Book of Enoch, we are invited to view Africa as a settling of heavenly revelations, divine wisdom, and mystical experience, marking it as a significant cornerstone in the construction of biblical narratives. While the Emerald Tablets aren't traditionally part of the biblical canon, they are vital sources that emulate the profound intellectual and spiritual heritage of Africa, specifically ancient Egypt. The Emerald Tablets are a fascinating repository of cryptic verses laden with allegories and profound metaphysical insights. These tablets, purportedly written by thoughts, encapsulate a comprehensive worldview and understanding of reality from an ancient perspective. They delve into profound topics such as the nature of existence, the structure of the cosmos, principles of harmony and balance, laws of cause and effect, and the exploration of one's divine nature. The knowledge encoded within the Emerald Tablet align harmoniously with various wisdom traditions originating from Africa. This principle of Ma'at, the ancient Egyptian concept embodying truth, balance, order, and the harmony to the Hermetic axiom, as above, so below, hinting at a harmonious interconnection between the cosmos and life on Earth. These teachings bear an unmistakable imprint of African philosophical thought. The Emerald Tablets also mention the lost civilization of Atlantis and its downfall, reminding humanity of the perils of disharmony and the abuse of knowledge. These narratives, although shrouded in myth and legend, have pearls in African oral tradition, which carry warnings about societal imbalance and disunity. Continuing our journey through the rich tapestry of African-rooted knowledge, we turn our attention to the Apocrypha, a collection of biblical texts not traditionally included in the standard canon. These ancient texts, while often overlooked, reveal profound links to the African continent and its influence on early biblical literature. The Apocrypha, literally meaning hidden in Greek, consists of numerous books, letters, and wisdom literature that were part of the Septuagint, the Greek translation of Hebrew Bible. The Septuagint was widely used in Africa, especially in religions such as Alexandria, which was a vibrant hub of intellectual and spiritual exchange during the Hellenistic period. Within the Apocrypha, the wisdom of Sirach, also known as Ecclesiasticus, stands out due to its clear resonance with African wisdom traditions. Composed by Jesus ben Sirach in the 2nd century BCE, this remarkable work offers a vast compendium of moral teachings, ethical guidelines, and sage advice. The themes addressed in the wisdom of Sirach echo the core values commonly found in African wisdom tradition. It emphasizes references of ancestors, recognizing their wisdom and teaching vital spiritual assets to guide and enrich the lives of generations. This strong connection to ancestral heritage is a fundamental aspect of many African cultures. The wisdom of Sirach also champions the importance of community solidarity, advising respect for the elders, maintaining harmonious relationships, and valuing collective well-being over individual gain. This societal view aligns closely with the African concept of Ubuntu, the belief in the universal bond of sharing that connects all humanity. Additionally, the wisdom of Sirach places a great deal of emphasis on the natural harmony and respect for the earth, the principles that are deeply embedded in African spirituality and the worldview. It encourages living in alignment with the natural world, a concept mirrored in African ecological philosophy that view humanity and nature as inseparable entity of a holistic existence. Africa's spiritual heritage takes us next to the Nag Hammadi Library, a trove of early Christian and Gnostic texts unearthed in Egypt. These scriptures, hidden away for centuries, bring to light Africa's pivotal role in early Christian thoughts and the development of Christian mysticism. The Nag Hammadi Library was discovered in 1945 near the town of Nag Hammadi in Upper Egypt. The discovery consisted of 13 codices containing 52 texts, a treasury chest of knowledge that expanded our understanding of early Christianity and Gnosticism. These writings, steeped in the African milieu of their origin, provide an invaluable window into the spiritual landscape of the era and location. Among these texts are the Gospel of Thomas and the Gospel of Philip, both of which echo African thought and mysticism. The Gospel of Thomas, a collection of 114 sayings of Jesus, diverges from the traditional narrative structure of the canonical Gospel and instead emphasizes direct wisdom teachings, a method reminiscent of African oral traditions. Its emphasis on inner knowing and spiritual self-discovery aligns closely with African wisdom traditions focused on personal experiential knowledge. The Gospel of Philip, another text within the Nag Hammadi library, also exhibits themes and perspectives that resonates with Africa's spirituality. It focuses on spiritual symbolism, interpretations of religious rituals, and the notion of divine union, present an alternative, more mystically inclined Christianity that bears similarities to African spiritual philosophies. By shedding light on these texts from the Nag Hammadi library, we underscore Africa's substantial influence on the earth's Christian and Gnostic traditions. This connection can provide us with an enriched understanding of the possible mutual influence and shared wisdom traditions between African and the ancient Near East. African proverbs are a profound source of wisdom passed down from generation to generation, encapsulating the philosophical, moral, and social ethos of various African cultures. These bit-sized pieces of wisdom often contain timeless truths, practical advice, and moral lessons that transcend geological and cultural boundaries. Biblical wisdom literature, including the books of Proverbs, Job, and Ecclesiastes, likewise present a wealth of wisdom teachings in a similar format. Their emphasis on moral integrity, right living, and the pursuit of wisdom parallel the themes often seen in African proverbs. Take for instance, the book of Proverbs. Many of its proverbs, like pride goes before destruction, a haughty spirit before a fall, Proverbs 16:18, echo the essence of African proverbs like the Swahili proverb, pride is the mother of all mistake. Such parallels suggest an underlying connection between the wisdom traditions. The book of Job, with its emphasis on human suffering and divine justice, similarly resonates with the philosophical depth found in African proverbs, and Ecclesiastes, with its contemplating tone, mirrors the reflection nature of many African proverbs. These similarities indicate that wisdom traditions moved and evolved between African and the ancient Near East. Legends connected to Africa and Ethiopia in particular include the legend of the Ark of the Covenant. According to the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, the sacred chests described in the book of Exodus as containing the 10 Commandments is not lost but carefully guarded in a chapel in the small town of Aksum for centuries. The Ark of the Covenant, as per biblical account, is a gold-covered wooden chest described in the book of Exodus as containing the 2 stone tablets of the 10 Commandments. It is said to have been built at the command of God by Moses and carried by the Israelites during their 40-year journey through the wilderness. The Ark is a symbol of God's presence among the Israelites and is often associated with divine protection and power. The Ark's purported location in Ethiopia is based in a long-standing tradition dating back to the time of King Solomon and the Queen of Sheba. According to Ethiopian legends, the Queen of Sheba visited King Solomon in Jerusalem, where she bore him a son, Menelik. When Menelik grew up, he journeyed to Jerusalem to visit his father. Before leaving, he was given a replica of the Ark by his father. However, unbeknownst to Solomon, Menelik has switched the Ark with the replica, bringing the original to Ethiopia, where it remains to this day, housed in the Church of Our Lady Mary of Zion in Aksum. This legend is a central aspect of Ethiopian religion and cultural identity and has been perpetuated through generations. While there is no concrete evidence to support the claim that the Ark of the Covenant resides in Aksum, the legend continues to hold significant spiritual and historical value for the Ethiopian people. It serves as a symbol of their unique relationship with biblical narratives and their belief in their sacred responsibility to protect the Ark. Whether the Ark is truly in Aksum or not, the legend underscores the enduring connection between Africa and the biblical narrative and the profound impact of these stories on African cultures and tradition. In our exploration of the deep-seated connection between Africa and the Bible, we must not overlook the profound influence of African spirituality on biblical narratives. African spirituality, characterized by its diversity, depth, and resilience, has contributed immensely to shaping the religious landscape of the African continent and beyond. Elements of African spirituality, such as reverence for ancestors, belief in the interconnectedness of all life, and the importance of ritual and community, are deeply ingrained in the many biblical texts and traditions. For example, the veneration of ancestors is a central aspect of many African spiritual practices. This reverence for those who have passed on is reflected in various biblical passages, such as in Hebrews 12:1, which speaks of being surrounded by so great cloud of witnesses. Similarly, the concept of Ubuntu, or the interconnectedness of all life, resonates with biblical teachings on love, compassion, and community. The emphasis on ritual and communal worship in African spirituality finds parallel in the biblical account of religious ceremonies, sacrifices, and festivals. These shared themes and values underscore the intrinsic connection between African spirituality and biblical narratives, highlighting Africans' profound influence on the development and interpretation of religious traditions. As we continue to unravel the intricate tapestry of African influence on the Bible, it becomes clearer that the roots of biblical history are deeply intertwined with the continent's rich and diverse cultures, traditions, and spiritual heritage. From the ancient civilizations of Egypt and Ethiopia to the vibrant oral traditions of African tribes, Africa's imprint on the biblical narrative is unmistakable. Through the hidden identities, forgotten legends, and shared wisdom, Africa emerges as a central protagonist in the unfolding drama of human history, offering invaluable insight into our shared origins and destiny. As we delve deeper into this captivating exploration, we gain a newfound appreciation for the profound impact of Africa on the story of humanity, inspiring us to embrace the richness of our collective heritage and the boundless potential for unity, understanding, and transformation. Do well to leave a comment if you have any questions, and remember to like and subscribe so you could always get an update for more video content like this.